Aliens, Amelia Earhart, and Venomous Jizz. American Horror Story's first episode of Death Valley starts off with a bang so big everyone gets pregnant.
It means all four of us are pregnant.
In this video, we'll be taking a deep dive into episode 7 of Double Features, theories on where it could be headed, and some Easter eggs along the way. We don't waste any time here, so make sure to like and subscribe, because here we go. Welcome to Albuquerque, New Mexico, 1954, where we're about to see the weirdest thing happen to this town since a high school chemistry teacher sold meth.
Goddamn right.
Check out our first image of a Capitol Records record, which is pretty interesting since the final shot of Red Tide contains the Capitol Records building. Here we get our first glimpse of Maria WYCOFF, a stay-at-home mom who, if you've seen the previews, looks like she's going to be the aliens' point person when it comes to talking with the government. Her son Timothy is outside as a bunch of dust devils form. Like part 1, Red Tide, part 2 has been given these additional fake radio broadcasts, which you can access on the FX YouTube channel. I'll leave a link to it in the description if you're interested. Here we learn that the area has been plagued with dust storms as of late, which may or may not be the result of UFOs. The house trembles, the clock turns back, and the lights flicker as the alien presence seems to take over the body of Timothy, who tells his mother not to be afraid. While we later see Maria exploding heads as she's taken over by the alien presence, I think these aliens are more or less good. Later in the episode, we'll hear President Eisenhower ask why they are here. We get a hint at what this could be in the season 10 preview trailer, which released a few months ago.
Time is running out for both our people. We need to create something better. Part human, part us.
So it looks like the aliens and humans have to team up together. And with all this talk of joining together to create something better, we can start to see how these pregnancies fit into everything. In the radio broadcast, there's also mention of fertility rates on the rise,
With reported fertility rates on the rise in various regions.
So Maria's poor husband comes home and has his head exploded, and Maria's eyes turn white. We've seen black eyes in AHS before, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the first time we've seen these white ones. We also get a completely new intro credit sequence. It doesn't give away too many clues, but note the repeated use of what appears to be octopus tentacles, UFOs, time-elapsing, and babies with alien heads. I'd hate to give birth to that. We move on over to Palm Springs, California, where 34th President of the United States plays golf with some other officials. Fun fact, Eisenhower had a putting green put on the White House grounds. Something is on his mind, which his colleagues wonder could be Korea or McCarthy, both big issues Eisenhower would have to deal with at this time. But Eisenhower, whose nickname was Ike, is interrupted by urgent news. Something was shot down by the Air Force entering US airspace. We get our first look at Sarah Paulson as Mamie Eisenhower, Ike's wife. He lies to her saying he's going to an Air Force base to get help with a chipped tooth, but Mamie sees past this.
We both know not all of your secrets have to do with national security.
I thought this was a really interesting line. I don't know what secret Ike could be hiding based on history, but expect this to come into play later on. She also says Ike can't lie to save his life, so we'll probably be seeing him have to lie to save his life in upcoming episodes. Ike's military convoy heads into the desert where we catch a glimpse of the UFO wreckage. The president remarks on the recovered alien body that it, quote, looks like a child, but perhaps the weirdest mystery is the sudden appearance of Amelia Earhart, portrayed by Lily Rabe. You may recall that Amelia was the first person across the Atlantic solo by plane. She disappeared in 1937 after she and her navigator Fred, who is also mentioned by name, went missing around Howland Island in the Pacific. She has mysteriously reappeared with these strange markings on her back, almost looking like crop circles. She tells Ike that all she remembers is her RDF, or radio direction finder, stopped working, her dials went spinning, similar to Maria's clock, and that everything turned white. 17 years have now passed since she went missing, and Amelia is uneasy. She talks about how blood was taken from her and that things were put inside her. This is all the more troubling when we find out she is 2 months pregnant. Keep in mind that if Amelia does give birth to some alien baby, they'd be about 67 years old in present day. That's something I'm going to keep in the back of my mind if this child ends up being a character we already know from the AHS universe. The alien recovered from the wreckage is dissected. We see a film crew documenting it, which is a nod to the alleged Roswell autopsy footage of the late late 1940s. According to the doctor, the alien has no internal organs, and inside emerges some jelly-type creature which sucks onto his face. His colleague tries to help, but the entity breaks off into another one. Now, is this thing a part of the alien, or was it some sort of invasive creature, a parasite? Could this thing be what is causing the aliens to seek help from humanity, and now that it's on Earth, time will be running out for us as well? Suddenly, the doctor's head explodes, and Ike is confronted with a levitating Maria. He believes they can come to some sort of agreement, but her last line is a bit ominous.
Mr. President, it is you who will listen to us.
Fast forward to what we can only assume is present day, they never actually tell us, where we're introduced to 4 of the most unlikable, entitled, pompous assholes you'll ever meet. Seriously, I would have enjoyed this second half a lot more if I actually cared about these characters. Instead, this scene basically shows how they all went to Ivy League schools. Cal here treats the waitress so condescendingly, and within the first minute I just hated them all. Regardless, there are a few things in this scene that offer clues as to what's going on and might be important later on. First, take a look at these name cards, as if they are some confidential US military dossiers. Considering they get abducted later in the episode, I think they'll be having a chat with the military later on. Kendall's father has cancer and she is studying to become a doctor. Jamie seems to suffer from seminal plasma hypersensitivity, making her new boy toy's jizz feel like acid. And finally, Kendall has fallen in love with a guy from school who is a Luddite, a person who is opposed to new forms of technology. This prompts her to convince her and her friends to leave their phones before they go camping. Great idea for all these kids who went to Ivy League schools to not have a phone in case of an emergency. While on their trip, the crew is met with some strange occurrences. The pond that was there one day is now seemingly missing, and they come across a field of dead bovine cut precisely in two with no signs of blood anywhere. Oh, and one even blinks and moos. So they decide to get the hell out of Dodge, but while on the road in the middle of the night, their car loses all power and a bright white light envelops them. Strange tentacles emerge which knock out the occupants. We aren't sure how much time has passed when the passengers come to, but they wake up in different seats in the car. Jamie doesn't even wake up in the car at all. They find her a bit down the road, and I wonder if there's a reason for that. Presumably the next day, all our characters start feeling nauseous. Kendall calls her Beau, and it was pretty funny to see them using hardwired phones because they're both supposed to be Luddites. And the purpose of this call is pretty dumb. She just wants permission from him to Google alien abduction and lost time. So Jamie and Kendall decide to get pregnancy tests since both are feeling ill. Jamie hasn't slept with anyone and Kendall is on the pill. There's also a hint here that Jamie may have had an abortion or miscarriage because she tells Kendall she hasn't felt this way since that time when she was 19. This is then followed by an absolute treat of a convo between Cal and Troy about Guardia, a parasite that can be acquired by eating one's ass. I think what the writers were trying to get at here is that some sort of parasite is in their bodies. This parasite is likely their alien babies. Not exactly sure how this is going to work for the guys. Kendall ends up reading an article about Barney and Bette Hill, who were allegedly abducted and lost time, similar to what she and her friends went through. Barney and Bette were the inspiration for Kit and Alma Walker's characters in Season 2 Asylum, who were also abducted by aliens. So the boys end up coming over, and all their pregnancy tests conclude they are pregnant. In past preview footage, we've seen this shot of something growing in one of the boys' bellies. Also, stay tuned for my Episode 8 preview breakdown, where I'll go over what might be in store, as well as footage that indicates we'll see what happened to them while they were abducted. So that's it for this first episode of Death Valley. I am super curious what you guys thought of it, considering the odd nature of this season. Do you have any theories on how or if this will connect to Red Tide? My money is on the chemist. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram @ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.